Dr. Chris Yeager here with ISO Baseball. You can reach us at isobaseball.com.
It's really a rather simplistic idea when you relate it to throwing. Again, nobody would ever want to leave weight on their back foot, as they release a baseball pitch, or they don't want to try to force their back leg over as they make a throw. Quarterbacks, biggest pitfall you always hear is don't throw off the back foot, and that's true. So, and when we go to throw, we're pressing, laterally in a straight line fashion, and that's what we want to have happen here. And it's, again, that step allows us, when the foot's off the ground, the back leg is loaded, and then it unloads in a lateral fashion into the front side. That front leg again opens the hip from the front. Okay. And again, in terms of this footwork, go to my YouTube channel. I can give you hundreds upon hundreds of examples, major league hitters that are completely off the backside. Not all hitters are completely off like this, but every single one of them have the great majority of weight, or really pressure, is held on that front leg before and through contact with the baseball. They are not creating rotation. Matter of fact, I'll show at the end of this that it's biomechanically impossible to rotate the pelvis by just simply doing what this hitter is trying to do, by spinning his foot into the ground. Even this kid is rotating the pelvis from the front, but what he's doing is he's creating much less energy from the backside. There's nothing there, but he still has to get weight into this front leg, and so the same thing is happening. This leg is still on the ground, okay, and it's pushing against the ground. You can see him pushing the hip backwards, so we get more of a backwards move of the front hip, to whereas in this hitter you can really see how there's drive and the back hip catches up with the front hip. Very different body positions, but still rotation can't be created by a spinning back foot. Rotation is created by the legs working against the ground in straight lines. Okay, if this were the case, you could hit just as good on an ice rink. Just get on an ice rink and spin. You need the legs working against the ground to create energy, to create power, and we happen to, in the baseball swing, utilize the opening of the pelvis, or rotation of the pelvis, to help power the swing. So because hitters see rotating hips, they try to create rotation in the wrong way. Okay, we're taking a look here at a major league batter recorded with our motion analysis system with 8 cameras at 240 frames per second. And again, what we're focused on here is understanding what creates rotation in the batter. Okay, and really, ideally, we want the rotation of the pelvis to drive the rotation of the upper half. So we want the pelvis to open first and kind of pull the upper half around. The musculature of the torso and arms, of course, do get involved, but we want to delay that until the appropriate time. We don't want to rush that. We want to let the hips work first, if you will. I think there's way too much talk of hips, but we do want to let that pelvis begin to open before we get the torso muscles working to bring the body around. So understanding that the rotation of the pelvis is what drives the rotation of the upper half. What creates rotation of the pelvis? Well, the pelvis is rotated not by spinning the feet or spinning the legs, but rather by the legs working against the ground. Okay? When the foot, let's just take a traditional stride here. When the foot is in the air, the back leg is loaded. As that leg works against the ground, it presses weight, energy, momentum into and against that front side. That front leg plants, and the femur works on the pelvis and opens the hips from the front, and that's what creates rotation. So it's a lateral press from the back side and a bracing up, and the front leg working against the ground on the front side, that opens the pelvis up from the front. We're not creating rotation by even really thinking about spinning. We're not spinning our feet or spinning our front leg open. We're simply, really, the back leg should be working in a straight line, and then the front leg is bracing up and opening the pelvis up from the front. and we'll take a look at this from a number of different angles. Okay, let's take another view of the hitter here. Bring up right here, and what we want to focus on here really is the front pelvis versus the back pelvis. And when you really look at it this way, and you think of the 2 points of the pelvis, and you start thinking about, really creating rotation, of the pelvis, you see how silly it is to think that you can, move that bone by just spinning your leg. So I'm going to put a tracer here, on the back pelvic bone here, and we'll just trace this through. We'll back him up here. As he takes his stride, okay, that back leg is pressing sideways. It's abducting. That's basically, spreading of the legs, or the leg moving away from the midline of the body, is what that back leg is doing there. And as he's doing that, you can see that the pelvic bone is moving forward. Okay. Now if we back him up again, you can see, the pelvis is a little more closed as he loads, and as he's completing that stride, that leg is working to kind of drive that pelvis forward, driving the bone, forward into the front side. So there is some opening, of the pelvis while the foot is in the air as he goes into foot plant. However, it's moving relatively slow compared to what we're going to see, right after the heel drops. The heel drops, right here, okay, and then we really see that pelvis begin to rotate forward, accelerate forward, okay. So we get this movement here, okay, heel down, and the pelvis really rotates forward, but you can see that it's rotating up to meet the front one, okay. So our axis of rotation, the body is rotating around a point about the front foot, really through the front foot, okay. So as the pelvis begins to catch up there, you can see we're not just spinning in the same place. And again, we see our greatest hip speeds, right after that heel plants, and we can really see, heel down, and then the back hip really accelerate, that is, pelvic rotation, and that happens right as that energy works from that front leg to really open the front hip. You'll also notice, again, we're talking about, whip effect and deceleration and transfer. You can see right after that heel drops, okay, you really see the head stabilize. We won't see any more forward movement of the body's center of gravity. If you really trace that head, see how that head really stays back, gets to a point here, heel down, and then all the way through contact, that head isn't moving forward, okay. So we really get against that front side, we brace up behind it, we hit behind that front side, and the head is stable as soon as that heel drops, okay, boom. Even though that hip is driving forward, heel down, hip is driving forward, the head is stable, okay. We're leveraged behind the front side. Even though that back foot may be sliding a bit, the head is stable. We talk about an axis of rotation. Where's the body rotating around? And it's a point about here. It's about where we're rotating around. The front foot establishes the point, and then really you can see as that back hip catches up, that's about the point that we're rotating around, right there, through the front leg, through the front foot. Now let's go ahead and trace the front pelvic bone. Again, it's going to move, with the back one, obviously. As that back leg, presses us sideways. Okay, and the key thing I want you to look at here is look for any backwards movement of that front hip bone. Okay, and instead of seeing that, we really see it more or less, establish a forward point, after the heel gets down, and then the back one simply catches up to it. In other words, that front hip isn't really moving back to meet the back hip. Obviously, during the stride, the entire pelvis is moving forward, depending on the size of the stride or the amount of lateral press that we have. Okay, but then we get foot down here, and as the pelvis is rotating, and this is the key thing, as the pelvis is rotating, it's really kind of maintaining its forward position. It's not working back to meet the other one. Now, in a bug squisher, you would see the hip kind of go back to meet the other one. There's not the forward drive, there's not the forward energy into the pitch that we see in this high level pattern that we've got here. Okay, so again, axis of rotation is established here. The back pelvis comes up to meet the front one. Here's just another look here. Again, I've got the tracer on the back pelvic bone. And again, this just gives you a good look at how that back leg is driving that back pelvic bone in a direction of the ball. Okay. Now, make no mistake, you can see at this point in the swing that back foot is weightless. It's sliding off of the ground. So really, the back leg has the highest force production of the back leg occurs well before the front heel drops. Okay, so really the work of the back leg is done by about this point in the swing. It's already kind of fired into that front side. The energy again is blocked by the front leg. That front leg then works against the ground and accelerates the pelvic bone around that pivot point on the front side. So again, the back leg, it's doing its work through here. Boom, the heel is down, and it's basically the back leg is on autopilot at this time. But the direction of the energy force, has already been set. And you can see how that back leg, through the stride phase is driving that back pelvis, driving the energy of the system in a straight line direction at the ball. And that's the way that we should be thinking. We want to be working in a straight line at the ball, driving that pelvic bone in a straight line at the ball.